This is part 3 of the video series I'm making about building a startup from scratch in Paris. However, this video won't be about the startup mostly because I didn't film enough about it, and the stuff that I did film can't really be put into a good, concise narrative. So instead, I'll be talking about language. As I'm moving to France, I now have to learn French, and I think that's going to be the toughest challenge for me ahead over the next year, is actually picking up an entirely new language. First of all, you can easily survive in France with only rudimentary language comprehension, or at least in Paris. You'll be able to do everything you need to do in a day, but you'll miss all of the important things that are happening around you, because that's all going to be spoken in French. In social situations, for example, people will be happy to speak to me in English, which means that I'm not completely left out, but they will speak French to everyone else. So unless I only want to follow the part of the conversation that is directly about me, I have to learn French. So yeah, let's learn a new language.
Hello. So there's two parts in a verb. There's the first part, which is the base, and then you have the terminaison, the ending. So the base is basically AIM here, and the ending is going to be E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT.
Yeah.
So you have to remember these for like how you write.
J'aime, tu aimes,
Il aime,
il aime, nous aimons, vous aimez,
ils aiment.
ils aiment.
When you're telling something and you're describing the action, when you're describing something that happened in the past and you're describing the action first, like the main action that's happening, you use the passé composé. When you're using background action or like things that you are doing, you use the imperfect.
Give me an example.
So, I was sitting when this happened. J'étais assis. J'étais, so I'm using imperfect, quand cela s'est produit. So,
But aren't you using the passé composé there?
The être verb. J'étais. Yeah, I'm using the perfect.
Oh, the imperfect. The perfect. This one.
This is the passé composé.
You're using the imperfect.
Yeah, I'm using the imperfect.
J'étais.
J'étais.
So what's the verb that you're using there?
J'étais assis. I was sitting. I was.
Assis is sitting?
I was. Yeah, j'étais assis. J'étais assis. No, j'étais assis is plus que parfait. Whoa.
I don't think I can really crash course in French is like never going to work. It's
Shit. My part-time work has gotten back to me with a signed copy of a statement of work that is the final piece of my dossier with which I can now start viewing flats. Now that I've got proof that I have a solid income with which I can pay for the flat that I want, I can look for the flat that I want. There we go. Let's do it. So, we have photocopy of passports, statement of work, 4 previous invoices, and 4 bank statements where you can see that the invoices were paid. First, second, third, fourth invoice paid. If that isn't proof enough to the person I'll be renting from that I can pay my rent, then I don't know what will be. Le dossier est complet.
Le dossier est complet.
Le dossier est complet. Give me a different example.
Je mangeais quelque chose
Yeah.
quand il m'a mangé. I was eating something and he ate me.
Then he ate me.
When suddenly he ate me.
I've been thinking a lot over the past week about what goes into learning a new language and what goes into learning a new skill for that matter. What I've noticed about learning a new skill is that I'm held back by the skills I already have. And here's why. Becoming good at things, and I mean really truly good at things, takes a lot of practice and a lot of time. In my case, I've slowly become a very good programmer over the past 10 years. I'm very proud of this skill that I've picked up. I'm now at a point where I can provide people with something of great value with my mind. And that's a wonderful thing. It feels good to be good at something. However, I've gotten used to that feeling now. Valuing myself for my competence in these skills has become the norm. And I've conflated the competence I have in one skill with being competent in general. And that the way I see myself is the person who is good at things. As soon as I try something new, I'm immediately struck by how bad I am at this thing compared to how good I am at programming. And it's really disappointing to suddenly not be good anymore, to be failing at something when you're so used to being a valuable asset to others. Because simply skills aren't always transferable. Being good at one thing doesn't mean you're going to be good at everything. And this is an obvious thing to point out, but the things you're good at become your things, and then they become a safe fallback that you can always return to when learning something new becomes too difficult. And it's much nicer to stay within the confines of what you already know and what you can already do. It's not fun to have to go back to square one and learn stuff again. But if you don't do that, then you'll always be limited to who you are now. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this. Essentially, I'm going to have to get used to being bad at things again. And that being bad at something now is probably not that bad.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Barto, je suis anglais, donc mon français n'est pas très bien. J'appelle pour votre appartement. J'aimerais visiter votre appartement et je suis disponible toute la semaine. Maintenant, brièvement à propos de moi, j'ai 21 ans et je suis anglais et néerlandais. J'ai un CDD de 6 mois pour travailler dans une start-up à Londres en tant que développeur de logiciels. Merci d'avance pour votre réponse et bonne journée.
That's the best I can do. Let's see if it's good enough and if I get a response. Who knows?
French is, I think, the hardest of Latin languages. Of the 5 Latin languages, it is the hardest. I mean, except for Latin. Latin is the hardest, but
All the complexity in
all
Latin.
the complexity in Latin has gone not even because French have invented all sort of weird stuff that doesn't come from Latin at all. So yeah, Latin is just it's just a very logic language, whereas French is just like some, like half logic, half non-logic language.
I shouldn't have moved here. Cool.
Yeah.
Language. This is part 1 of grammar.
It's a 22-minute video.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh shit, man. We'll cut it down.
Yeah.
This is part 1 of grammar with Matteo. We'll see you next time.